Oh my goodness gracious. It has been a very, very, very long time since I've seen you guys and you've seen me, but I'm glad to be back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is King Shit Talk. I'm your host, Salid, and I'm going to be talking about a couple things today, y'all. There's an influx in entrepreneurship that happened around 2020, around the time of COVID. A lot of people started creating businesses because they had no way to get money in. There was a lot of things shutting down. There was a lot of things that we saw that people were in need of that we never knew people were in need of before. I think I even saw people selling toilet paper out of their trunks on some street corners. So there were a lot of businesses that were created. And tonight we're going to talk about passion for business. I have a wonderful guest lined up to ask a couple questions to tonight. We're going to keep it as professional as possible in the beginning, but it may go off to the side during the middle or the end of the show. We'll see what happens. Um, that guest goes by the name of Brandy Hunt. I'm going to bring her up momentarily and we're going to jump right into it. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week and preparing to have a wonderful weekend. With that being said, let me bring Miss Hunt up. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for being here. Did I catch you playing mahjong while on
Of
King
course.
Shit Talk? That's is that what you were doing?
The life of an entrepreneur, multitasking all the time.
That's right. I know about that. Let's jump right into this though. First off, did you hear me talking about how in 2020 there were a lot of businesses that got created due to necessity? Because
Absolutely.
sometimes, businesses start out of passion, but there are those times where businesses start out of necessity as well. And I know that you're an entrepreneur. What do you do as far as business goes?
I do all things personal development. And so if it's life coaching, therapy, writing books about life, motivational speaking. So my company is centered around leadership development and personal growth.
Goodness gracious, that's a lot of stuff to have up under your umbrella. Now, when
Right.
when did you start those businesses?
Well, I feel like I started when I was a kid. 13, 14, my friends would ask me, can you help me through this life situation? But I actually started business when I wrote my first book in 2014, which was dealing with the hand I was dealt. And so once I wrote my book, people kept asking me, how did you do it? And so I said, okay, here's how I did it. And I would do workshops. I was an actress. And so I knew, how to kind of, do the whole stage thing. I grew up in church. So I just copied the preachers. Right. And so I'm like, I could teach. I knew I had a gift of teaching. But the whole business aspect kind of just it landed in my lap and I had to teach myself. I taught myself how to publish my own book. I was always a writer. Like I loved English. I loved things like that. So it kind of catapulted from there. People asking me, well, I came to your workshop and I understand what you said, but when I tried to do it, it didn't do what you said it was going to do. So can you do it for me? And so then God put it in my heart to start a publishing company.
Oh wow, that's major. So would you say that your business pretty much started out of passion or necessity?
I think so when I used to work, I worked in a call center and I would always write movies because I was an actress. So I see life in stories. I've been a storyteller since I was a kid. And so I always had a passion to not work for somebody else. I just didn't know what it would be. So I would be at work creating different business ventures. Like I've done all the multi-level marketing, selling all the products. So I always knew that at some point when my daughter got grown, my goal was to not have to clock in and be able to clock in for myself. It wasn't until COVID that God kind of pushed me outside. And I tried to even go back to 9 to 5, and it didn't happen.
I feel you, and I've told people a lot about when I started being an entrepreneur. It was for those, well, some of those reasons as well. The main reason was, I didn't want to work for anybody. I
Hmm.
couldn't see giving all of my talents to help someone else get, rich or financially stable, but yet we be on the end of living paycheck to paycheck
Right.
and things like that. So it just didn't make sense to me. Um,
And
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying it doesn't make sense at all because, and I think what happened with the pandemic is that those people who had those sleeping dreams, not necessarily that they couldn't execute them, because I was doing both. I was clocking in, I was writing books on my break, I was doing videos on break, I was still doing everything I could to live my dream and clock in and have some stability because I still had a child to in the home to raise. But in my head, I just kept saying, when she turned 18, I'm out of here. I don't know how I'm getting out. And I believe faith plays a huge part in that. And I didn't just go from writing a book to running my publishing company. Somebody actually saw me at a event that I did, and she said, I think you should do what I do. And I said, well, what do you do? And she said, I'm a leadership development trainer. I should be teaching no one's leadership. When people hear that I am a leadership trainer, they're like, "You, the defiant one." I wasn't really defiant. I just didn't like how people talked to me, and I didn't know how to really just not say what was on my heart. And so, now being a leadership development specialist, so basically what she did was travel around the United States teaching corporations leadership soft skills. And so at the time, my daughter was like 13. And I was like, no, I don't want to leave her, for days on end. And this was pre COVID. And so she saw me again like 3 years later and was like, I really think you're a great speaker. I think you can do it. Well, by then she was getting ready to graduate. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try. And so I had to fly out to Kansas. I did in-person interview in like front of like 10 people. And actually my 5-year anniversary was like last week, and they hired me on the spot. And so
Wow.
that's really I was still working at that time, and but it was just in me that I don't want to live like this. I don't want to let my dream die. And I'm not saying it was dead all the way, but it's hard to live in those two worlds. Right, I'm on my break crying because I really just want to go home. I remember my supervisor saying, like, what department do you want to go to next? And I said, I want to go home. And he was like, today? I said, forever. And he was like, oh. I said, I don't know when it's going to happen. And a year later is when I got the traveling trainer position. And I've been in and out of, almost all the states, training and developing something that that was not on my, radar. I saw books because God gave me that. I saw publishing because God had given me that. I became a life coach because my clients, they would get stuck in their story, and we'll talk about that later. But I didn't know how to help them process through that, other than crying on the phone with them, right? And so I became a human behavior specialist so that I could help my, and he just continues to build on the last time you said yes. So every time I say, okay, God, I'll do it, kicking and screaming sometimes, I'll do it. So I think what happened in the pandemic, they reach back and they're like, hey, I got some ideas. I
Yeah.
think that survival, it brings out the best or the worst. And I think sometimes we just have to choose which way we're going to go. People realize, you know what, I have the ability to sell something that you need. That is business 101.
Yep.
If I have something that you need and I can convince you enough to get it from me, because they're getting it from somewhere, right?
That's
And
true.
if I have the fortitude to keep going in an industry that says, oh, nobody's going to buy that, nobody wants it from you, you charge too much, all of these things. So I think people ignited their old visions, and then they caught wind of new ones and realized that they didn't have to depend on this one system that we call jobs, that there are multiple ways that you can take care of your family, take care of yourself, and actually have some freedom. I know we still have laws and things we have to
Yeah.
abide by. There's surely some long nights, and I'll be like, clocking in sound like a good idea till morning comes, and I'll be like, I am so glad that I don't have
Uh-huh.
to clock in. So yeah, that's what I think happened during the pandemic, is that people found a new fire for their old dreams, or they ignited a passion for a new one.
And that's good. I like the way you said that, talking about the fire. Now, when you found your fire, did you have to stoke it by yourself, or did you have people in your village that helped you out with
You
this?
know, my aunt is a 10, she has 10 books or so. And when I first wrote it, I was kind of scared because it's my personal life story. Like I'm telling all the juice, all the tea is in this book about my life up until that point. And so she was really, inspirational and encouraging to, you know, put it out there and just it's okay. She writes fiction though. She's like, you can write it in fiction and nobody else will know what it was you. And I was like, but that's not what God gave me. But yes, my mom's very supportive. And I explained to them that they're in the book. I'm just telling the story how it happened, but they were very supportive. But you know who the biggest supporters, my daughter was very supportive. She's in the book. So I talk about being a mom at 20 years old. I talk about her father. So like everybody in my community and family is in the book, and people were very supportive of me and my healing journey because that's what it was about. Like I wrote the book because God told me to, but I still said yes, and I had to tell pieces of a very painful past. So I wasn't just telling my own story. I was telling everybody's story that was connected to me. And I think sometimes authors forget that. Like if I'm telling my side, you're also telling someone else's side. So we have to use a lot of grace and empathy and communicate to these people. But you know who's been my biggest supporters have been the people in Greenville, Spartanburg, around the United States. I get inboxes all the time. Hey, somebody referred you to me. Like I really be having tears in my eyes because the day before I'll be like, I'm not doing this anymore. You've seen me post it. Hey, I think this is when I'm going to be done. And
Yeah.
literally the next day or the day after, somebody be like, hey, I need you to help. God, tired. I'm tired. And so, yes, it's really been a beautiful journey. People have been very, very supportive. And I was actually the first Black female recognized. I don't know if I was the only, but I was the only Black female in the upstate of Greenville, Anderson, Spartanburg area in South Carolina, the only Black female publisher.
Wow. Now that's amazing.
There's hand claps. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Now, when we talk, I hear you talking about the great support that you had, and here part of my show, I like to bridge the gap between men and women and help men understand women better and help women understand men better. And
Correct.
all of that is to create a great foundation for our youth. Now, with that being said, when you were going through this climb, this mountain climb of entrepreneurship, finding your footing, getting things rolling, how was the support from your daughter's father?
He's always been in her life, even though we did not get along as children, because at 43, you realize you were a child at 20,
Right.
right? And so
That's right.
we met when we were 17. We broke up probably around 23, 24, right? So we were still in our early years. But he's always been supportive of one that we be semi healthy in our communication,
Mhm.
right? Because we're still healing at that point. Like I was 28, 29 ish when I wrote my book. No, I was 33. And so she's still 13, 14. She's in her teenage years, but he's always been supportive of do what's best for you. If
Mhm.
that means, like I moved to Atlanta, that's in the book, and I left her with him for like 6 months while I went and got stable, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of people they frowned upon that, and they're like, "You left your baby with her daddy? Who else should I leave her with?"
Yeah.
Right? We had a conversation. Hey, I want to move to Atlanta. It's what people know about me now at this age. If I have a deep seated gut feeling about something, I'm
Mhm.
gonna make it happen. But I'm gonna make sure that nothing falls apart, right?
Mhm.
And I knew that if I moved, it was like March. School is out in June. I don't want to move her school but I got to go now. I just knew that I had to go now. And I said, hey, will you keep her until the end of the summer and then I'll come back and get her? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. He got her back and forth to school and life went on. And so I always, when I look back over my life, he has always been there. Just because parents don't get along doesn't mean that you can't be a solid foundation for your child. And
Yeah, yes,
she always says, you know what, my mom and daddy, when they separated, they went left, they went right, and she tells people that she's like, I don't know anybody else in this world that when they drew the line, they drew the line. But that's just, I said, that's just healthy living. There's
yeah,
no reason to all the back and forth, and you did that, we did that in the very, like the first year, but
mhm,
after that we have a baby to raise and a human to make sure that our thing was we didn't want her to grow up with a lot of anger issues and a lot of regret, and I can't be with my mama because she don't like my daddy, and I can't be with my
yeah,
daddy because he don't like my mama. And so we just tried to make sure that we were as healthy as possible, right? We're all healing. And so were there blow ups? Absolutely. But there were also times that we came back and said, hey, I might have crossed the line. Right. I might have did a little too much in that last conversation. But as far as support, I've always tried to be very communicative with him. This is where I am in life and I'm about to drop it. And he will say, okay, I got it. Give me the baby. What do I need to do so that we can get the baby across the finish line? And so, we did the best we could, but he has always been supportive. His whole family, my whole family, lives in the general area of South and North Carolina. And so I think that that was very pivotal to me being able to go out of town. People will be like, hey, can you come and do a workshop in Charleston? I'm like, hey, do you want to go with me or do you want to stay? My sister, God, rest in peace now. She was very supportive. She'd be like, hey, bring Naya. Naya's her name. Bring
mhm.
Naya by. So if I did not have that glue, I don't think I would have made it.
And that's amazing that you guys could do that because I believe effective communication is best exceptionally when co-parenting.
Yes.
There there has to be some sort of communication that's for the betterment of the child because a lot of, I mean, let's be real, a lot of households are broken
Hmm.
now, but that doesn't mean that a lot of families are broken
Right.
because there are fathers out here who want to do what's best for the child, mothers out here that want to do what's best for the child. And it seems like you guys got that right. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
And on those lines, why do you think it's so hard, in your opinion, for a lot of other people to get it right? Because it looks like to me sometimes, like I'm not even going to talk about the man and woman part of it, but just fathers and mothers now. It seems like the fathers, from what I see, and I'm just talking about personally now, a lot of times the fathers aren't in their child's life because from what they say is I can't stand the mother. What do you think it is to where people can't kind of overstep that idea of I'm upset with the mom or I'm upset with the dad and just do what's right for the child?
I'll give you two perspectives. Since I am a soon to be graduate of psychology,
Okay.
I believe that in the culture that we live in, quitting is easier than it ever has been before. And so if I get a job today, a job, somebody that said they're gonna pay me, I'm gonna show up, they're gonna give me, a certain dollar amount. It don't matter if tomorrow I don't like it, I could just go ahead and leave and go get another one because they're so easily accessible. I think people look at relationships the same way. If it's not, if I didn't put, I don't have any skin in the game. I didn't have to get it out the mud with you. We had to do that back in the day, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't. If I leave this relationship, what I have to also consider is that it could be weeks before I meet somebody else, right? And I think that the accessibility of what we deem to be better is actually to our detriment. And I'm not telling anybody that they should stay if there's abuse and things like that. But I think that sometimes we overdo it when it could just be a conversation. It
Yeah,
could just
I
be,
agree.
but a lot of people are hooking up. And not that people who hook up don't stay together for long, so don't y'all crucify me, okay? But in a general, in a general sense, if we met on Monday and we decided to have sex on the next Monday, and now you're pregnant, I have no investment there. And I think that's why it's so easy for people to leave because they're like, oh, well, customarily, the mom's going to take care of the kid. If she decides to keep them, she's going to take care of it, right? That's our society. If we had a society that was the opposite, where we didn't do that, and it's like, well, I'll have the baby, but I'm leaving the baby with you, it would not be that way. But because customarily in our society, it is, if I choose to have this baby, then I'm also choosing the responsibility, child support or not. I am choosing to see this baby to 18 at least. And
Mm,
I just think we've made it, I don't even like the law having to make somebody pay, for, feeding
yeah,
your child. I think that in the psychological aspect, our society is so numbing when it comes to bonding with people or getting to know people. It's almost like, even with like food, if I used to want, I remember when I was a kid, McDonald's was a luxury. It was
yeah,
like, that's why our parents never had McDonald's money, because it was expensive.
mm,
Well, McDonald's now is on every corner in a dollar menu. So when you make something so accessible and so you can get it at easy access, people are easy to leave it because it's no longer it's like, not that desirability is no longer there. Now people also do things for duty, and I get that too. But I don't like that our society is set up on duty. You do this for me and I'll do this for you, and it's need based. And but
yeah,
if you stop doing for me whatever it is that's keeping you here, or I'm able to do it for myself, aka independent woman era, here goes the dynamic. Men were set up to provide. I say set up because I believe this was a setup.
yeah,
Um, Provide all of these things, protect all of the roles that you were given. But then you allowed for women to be able to do it for themselves. So you set it up on a need based relationship, and then you told people to find desirability. Those are two different worlds.
say
um,
it.
and so I think that is the main problem. That was probably the long answer to, I think people should seek out desirability first, and then once we're in the desire, then we can figure out who's going to do what. But what's happening is, well, I can take care of my baby. I can buy my own car. I can do all of that. I could go to a facility and get a baby if I want to.
Yeah,
And I hate that. I hate that for men. I hate that for women, because the desirability factor, when the babies are grown and we got all the money and we've taken all the trips, what do I need you for now? That's not human nature. Human nature says, I want you to be here because I want you, not what you do for me. But
mm,
societal nature says, let me take enough from you, get all of my needs met on both sides, and then here we are with, I don't even know you at the end of the day. I've been out providing for you all day, or I've been taking care of the kids, and your spouse or your mate comes in and you're like, who are you? You don't
yeah.
even know them, because you didn't come in this with desirability. You came in it with duty.
Cloud, have mercy. I'm telling you, if I had a collection plate, I'd be passing it around right now.
Well, thank you.
Do you think that society has taken the desirability out of men and women both?
Yes. I think you have to seek it out more than before. The satisfaction gap is closed. And so where we used to have to yearn, I like that word. We used to
Hmm.
have to yearn for human interaction. Like we're here talking on a computer. Back in the day, we wouldn't have had this. We would have had to come meet somewhere at a
Yeah,
local facility. We might have had to schedule it out because we was, somewhere punching in a clock. The satisfaction gap is closed, and so you really have to figure out, what is it that I do want. I had to go through that after I only have one child, and so after she was 16, 17, 18, and out of school, and she don't need me no more. I had to figure out, who am I outside of a mother, outside
mm,
of a publisher, because a lot of people just see me as the illustrious. extraordinary Brandy Hunt. And
All
I
right.
take that. I appreciate it. But once I take off all of those hats and I sit by myself, what do I like to do for fun? I didn't even know. I didn't know what I like to do for fun. I had to start seeking out things that might scare me, but everything's probably going to scare you because all you were doing was working.
That's right.
So I ended up,
That's
my
right.
daughter took me zip lining for my 40th birthday.
Mm,
That was interesting. And we jumped off of a 100-foot tower. Scary, but you have to find things that are your desirability, not just because you need. Like I need to run my business one so I could be obedient to God, because I gotta edit these books. I have to do leadership development. I do believe that is part of my purpose, but that is my purpose at this point.
mhm.
But I don't believe our only purpose is just to serve everyone else, and you never served yourself, or you never were able to connect to genuine whole love because you had a need. Church is a need, because I have to be in a social club. And I'm not church people. Don't crucify me. I was raised in church. My mama plays the piano. What I'm saying is some people need that because
Yeah.
there was no social media and all of that stuff. So the satisfaction gap is closed again. You needed to go to church because you needed that personal growth. Well, now we have online church, and so you really, really have to seek out what is it that I need and what is it that I want. And maybe some of my wants may have been from, people always go all the way back to childhood. I don't even think that's accurate. There's some things that didn't happen to me in my childhood, and I'm perfectly okay.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that did happen, and I wasn't okay. But there's some stuff that happened in my 20s. There's some stuff that happened in my 30s. And so sometimes I didn't get to travel as a 20 something. When I see people traveling with their kids and stuff now, I'm like, man, I really missed. And God's like, you didn't miss anything. You were doing what you were supposed to be doing. And so now I seek out those things. Like I like the beach or the mountains if it's cold, but like I like the beach. I'm always gonna, I didn't see sand until I was at Bike Week. Hallelujah. You said we was gonna end on a good note, but I didn't see
Yeah.
sand until I was 18. And so that's my thing. That's my desirability. I'm going to do things that set me up to be there, and I'm not going there because somebody said I should go. I'm not going because somebody thought it was a good idea. I'm going because when I'm there, I'm alive, and I think that's what people should look more inward than outward.
I agree. That's a great way to put that. Two things I want you to touch on before we end this. And let me say this so I don't forget at the end. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for giving me the time that you've given me um, today. I truly appreciate you. I'm extremely proud of you. I want to say to you, keep pressing forward, keep doing what you're doing, keep being the wonderful person that you are, because there are a lot of people that need it. There are a lot of people that are waiting on what you have to offer. Um, the two things I want you to touch on, though, one, if you could briefly tell me, what do you think from a woman's point of view we can do better as men and women to bridge that gap and to be better for one another? And after that, I want you to tell the people all of your handles, what you have going on, how you can assist them, what you can do and what you provide that can make their lives better.
In short, because that you're going to ask the fully loaded question last.
Hey,
Okay.
yeah.
What I believe we could do to be a bridge is be a bridge. Take down the stereotypes of what you thought I was. Because I'm a black female who's 43, then I should fit in this category. And I understand that in your mind it's very logical, right? You have to box it. That's just how you're built, right? And we are systematically overly emotional. But those aren't bad things. I just have to, I think we should get to know people for who they are, not who we think they are based on a TikTok video or some, because we bring those expectations and stereotypes. So also, if I think because you have a podcast, you're rich. Now, I hope you are. I hope your podcast bring you lots of money. I get
Yeah, I mean, I ain't too shabby over here.
but I'm making these grand assumptions. Where did I get that assumption from? Somewhere else. And then when I find out that you're not rich, I'm disappointed. You never said that.
Yeah,
So that's what happens is people come in your life and they have these really, they put you on this pedestal, and then their heart is broken, both both sides. Their heart is broken or they're disappointed with you, and then that's where that angst and anger and anguish comes from. And you're like, why are you so upset? Well, you didn't XYZ. We've known each other for 2 weeks. How can you possibly be upset?
hmm,
But it's these hidden expectations and also the stereotype for yourself. I think a lot of people, they have these expectations whether given to them as teenagers, early 20s. Heck, yesterday I heard I should be XYZ. I was thinking I'll never. If I started today, I wouldn't make it. And but I internalized it for a little while. I was like, man, I done missed the mark somewhere. And then I said, I'm not doing this with myself. I'm not.
hmm,
And but we, a lot of us do, and we try to meet this imaginary goal set by somebody else instead of finding out where am I supposed to be, what is my life supposed to look like, and being okay with the judgment of others is our worst trait. the,
yeah,
we are a very judgmental society because we have all of these roles and things that have been assigned to us before we even got here. And so, if I didn't meet the standard of the role that was set before me, not the purpose, because the Bible say the purpose was set before you, before the foundations of the earth. But when we got here, we had these set of rules, and some of us did not meet that standard for whatever reason. We chose bad. We didn't choose bad. We were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You can put whatever narrative with it you want, but it won't get better if we don't start having healthy conversations around what does tomorrow look like. I am so tired of hearing about 1950 and 1970 and it was like this back in the day, and why you don't like your grandma and your grandpa, because we don't. Now, can we agree to that? If you want someone like that, let it be because that's what you want, and
yeah.
you have a intended outcome from that input. That, as the kids say, the math ain't mathing. For you to talk to
Hey,
someone who's telling you that's not me, that's
yep,
not how I roll, that's not how I operate, and for us to argue semantics and make people be who they're telling you they're not.
yeah, yeah.
you,
And they don't
we're
change.
wasting our time. I will be a bridge for you to get where you would like to go. I've done that in relationships. I've told people, you know what, I don't think I'm your best option, but um, go that way. Find her there. And they would look at me like, what? But I bet I'd rather be transparent with you and
Hmm.
tell you, because I'll come in angry one day. Why are you still here?
Yeah,
Because we allow, but if you use what I just told you, which is go for desirability, even when you're bridging, we're bridging the gap. And we just got to understand it's not going to be changed overnight. And men have more conversations with men that are healthy, and women have more conversations with women that are healthy. And I'm not talking about what he did and what he said and all of that stuff. I'm talking about what does healing look like.
hmm,
Calm some of those traumas down in your body. Like, our bodies are so traumatized from being sick, overworked, underpaid, all of those things, not just abuse, but just the society we live in has overly, we're overstimulated
yeah,
on a daily basis. Calm some of the traumas down and stop arguing with people, because that's adding to your overstimulation. We'll have to have another psychological conversation
oh
about
yeah,
the human, the nervous system. But to be a bridge for somebody, be the bridge. See where they're trying to go and help them get there, and stop telling them that they don't want to go. If someone tells you that that's where they want to go, I'm help them get there. And then that's, I'll end it with that. My handles are, TikTok is Dr. Brandy Hunt, Doctor with a DR, Brandy with a Y. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook are all author, AUTHOR, Brandy Hunt.
Well, thank you so much again for the extended answers that you gave because they were very, very, very informative. And I believe it can help a lot of people out because I totally agree 100% with everything that you said. Again, I say I appreciate you. Everybody, I hope you remember those handles. If you don't, rewind, listen to them again. Go follow Miss Hunt. Reach out to her if you need any assistance, if you need any help as far as books go, as far as publishing goes, if you want to hire a speaker, a
Thank you.
mentor, motivator, anything you can think of positive, Miss Hunt is for you. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll be back with another informative episode at another time. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you, Miss Hunt. Thank everybody
Thank
for
you.
tuning in. See you later.